We all watched as the latest papal conclave concluded in just about a day and a half, from May 7th to May 8th, 2025. It was quick, it was decisive, and it felt efficient. But not all conclaves were this swift. In fact, some dragged on for years while others were wrapped up in less than a day. So what's behind these extreme differences in the papal election process? Let's take a step back, far back, to look at the longest and shortest conclaves in history and uncover the scandals, the conspiracies, and political maneuvering that made them unforgettable. The conclave of the years 1268 to 1271 is the longest in history, lasting an excruciating 33 months. The reason for this was far from simple. It wasn't just a matter of indecision. The French and Italian factions were locked in a brutal power struggle for control of the papacy. At the heart of the conflict were two sides: the French cardinals, who favored a pope that were aligned with King Charles of Anjou. Charles had ambitions to control southern Italy and was desperate for papal support. And there was the Italian cardinals, especially those loyal to the Holy Roman Emperor, who feared further French influence over the Church and Italy. The Church was in crisis, with the French monarchy trying to extend its control into Italian territories, and the papacy acting as a pivotal influence. As cardinals met behind closed doors, both sides tried to outmaneuver each other. Backroom deals were made, but every compromise was met with a rejection by the other faction. As the months stretched on, the conclave grew more intense. Both factions used bribes, promises of political favors, and even threats to try and force their candidates through. There were whispers of foreign influence too, as the French monarchy applied heavy pressure to ensure a pope would be sympathetic to their cause. As the months turned into years, the townspeople of Viterbo, frustrated by the lack of progress, decided to intervene. They locked the cardinals inside the papal palace, cut off food supplies, and even removed the roof of the building. The cardinals were exposed to elements like rain, cold, and the public's pressure. Desperation set in as cardinals began to die off, some from hunger, others from political infighting. In an effort to make the cardinals suffer enough to elect someone, the town's leaders also took to reducing the cardinals' rations to bread and water. The result was a tense, bitter conclave filled with hunger, anger, and political brinkmanship. After more than 2 years of extreme pressure and mounting death tolls among the cardinals, a compromise candidate was finally chosen: Teobaldo Visconti, a relatively neutral figure who was not even a cardinal when the conclave began. He was elected Pope Gregory X in 1271. His election ended the stalemate, but not before the prolonged deadlock nearly destroyed the Church's credibility. Pope Gregory X implemented reforms to prevent another conclave from dragging on for years. He formalized the practice of conclaves, sealing cardinals in the room and restricting their access to the outside world. These changes have now shaped the election process we know today. In stark contrast to Viterbo, the conclave of 1503 lasted a mere 10 hours. In a time when the papacy was often as much about political power as it was about religion, this election was a rapid strategic maneuver. And how did it happen so quickly? Let me give you the backdrop. When Pope Pius III died on October 18, 1503, the papacy was thrown into another crisis, but this time the situation was different. The election was no longer about religious piety, it was about power and influence. The leading candidate was Giuliano della Rovere, a skilled politician with connections across Europe. Giuliano knew how to play the game. He had spent years cultivating support among key cardinals using a mixture of political maneuvering and promises of power. His real genius lay in his ability to secure alliances across Europe, including with the French monarchy, who were eager for a strong pope to help them consolidate power in Italy. In a remarkable feat of political maneuvering, Julius II was elected pope almost immediately after the conclave began. There was no deadlock, no fighting, just rapid decisions and preordained outcome. Now, while the election was fast, the political context was anything but clean. There were bribes, promises, and even threats played a role in securing Julius II's swift election. The cardinals knew that whoever was elected would be a powerful political figure, and many of them wanted to secure their positions in the new papacy. Though the election itself was peaceful, Julius II's papacy was far from it. He was known as the warrior pope. Julius II sought to expand the papal states through military force. He waged several campaigns to recapture land from the French, and at times the papal army clashed violently with local factions. He His papacy wasn't just about religious reforms, it was about controlling Italy, and blood was spilled in the process. Julius II's election in 1503, while quick, would change the course of the church for the next several decades. Under his rule, the papacy became more militarized and politically involved in European affairs than ever before. He also sponsored the arts, commissioning works from artists like Michelangelo, thus beginning the Renaissance influence on the Vatican. The extremes of papal conclaves, one taking 3 years, the other lasting only 10 hours, reflect the ever-present tension between religious duty and political power. Whether it's bribes, conspiracies, or military ambitions, papal elections have always been a high-stakes game of influence. The election process may have evolved, but the intrigue, power struggles, and shocking decisions remain a constant part of the papacy's history. Whether it takes years or just a few hours, the stakes of choosing a pope are higher than ever. After all, these decisions affect not just the future of the church, but the political landscape of the entire world. I'm your host, Whimsical Amy. Please do well to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.